Good evening and welcome once again to this week's episode of Is My Turn Now, where everyone gets an opportunity to just express what's on your mind. We talk about relevant issues, issues that impact you, issues that impact others, but issues that we should be aware of. I'm so excited today to have our special guest on, State Representative John Bartlett, a tremendous man, doing a lot of work for us at the State House, representing you and I at the State House. And I'm so glad to have him. So glad that he was able to take his time to be on here. He's a very busy man, but so just fortunate to have him on the program on tonight. Again, I want to encourage you to share this, share with your friends, share with your neighbor. Let them know that it's my turn now. Is on the air and we're live. And if you have a comment or something that you want to share, there is a link on my Facebook page. I'll put the link up here. You can click on the link and you can come on live if you so desire and give your comments. However, once I click the link on, you click the link, you will be seen. So many times, unfortunately, I've had people come on here and they didn't know that they were going to be live. So they said, "Oh, I didn't know. I just wanted to see what's going on." So if you click that link, we will be able to hear and see you as well. Also, before we go any further, I want to just say how excited I am for my latest book called "To Forgive or Not to Forgive" is coming out this coming Thursday. And you may want to get your copy, inbox me, text me, call me, Facebook me, and let me know. To forgive or not to forgive. Do you know someone that's struggling in the area of forgiveness? Or you yourself may be struggling with area of forgiveness. This book right here will certainly help you. It's called "To Forgive or Not to Forgive." It's hot off the press. You can get one of the first copies if you're interested. So again, we're certainly glad for each and every one that joins us every week on It's My Turn Now. The program will not be what it is without your participation. So please continue to support us and continue to share it. Let your friends, let your family, let them know it's my turn. It's on there now. Now I'm going to bring on our guest today, Representative John Bartlett. So glad to have you on. Welcome to It's My Turn Now.
It's my turn now. It's
There you
thank you,
go.
thank you so much for the
If you can
invite.
take about 60, if you can take about 60 seconds, we're going to talk about a subject. What I asked a state representative is, what was he passionate about? He shared with me, and we had a nice conversation, and he shared with me his compassion about human trafficking. And that's something a lot of us probably are not aware of, may not even know that it existed, but it certainly exists. Now, also, many know him as the state representative. So we don't have to give you at least 60 seconds or so to talk about your responsibilities as state representative and the district that you represent.
Again, my name is Representative Johnny L. Bartlett. I represent House District 95. My boundaries are primarily from 38th Street on the south, 71st Street on the north, Emerson on the east, and Carroll Road or County Line Road on the west. Now there's a dip down in there around Fort Bend that I lose, but basically that's my district. And as a state representative, we make policy for the great state of Indiana, and we there working and fighting, trying to make things better for not only House District 95, but for the state itself. So your input, if you live within House District 95, please call me, please contact me. And I put my phone number out there, 317-545-1341, for anyone to call me with ideas, how to make this state better, how I can make your life better.
I think it's awesome that you make yourself so accessible because I know you're in high demand. I'm going to ask you a question. Does your area cover 42nd Post?
It does.
Okay, so we know anyone that knows anything about 42nd Post, anybody know anything about the crime charts in Indianapolis, one of the most challenging areas in the city. So you certainly have your work cut out for you, especially in just that area alone. It can be problematic and challenging for you.
And at 42nd Post, we started something along with Miss Abby, Laundry and More. We started that several years back, and that was the only place in the state that I knew of where you could come Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we supplied the quarters, we supplied the detergent, we supplied the bleach, the bleach, and the fabric softener. And all you had to do is come bring your clothes and wash them there and fold them. and we had a table that had books on it. If you took a book, the only thing we asked is when you finish the book, bring it back so someone else could read it. We had clothes there, and we did that for several years. And this Miss Abby Vesca, she walked away from it, and when she walked away, I did too. But because it was her idea, and we got this started. We operated for over 10 years in House
Wow.
District 95.
So you clean up the city in more ways than one, huh?
There you go.
Clean up the crime and clean up through the detergent. That's something I think maybe someone else can pick up the idea and work on to reinstate the idea. I think it's a tremendous idea. Hey, Menorah says, greetings, Dr. Walton. God bless my friend. Thanks for supporting this week's It's My Turn Now. If you want to share some more, because I'm definitely interested in getting to the subject because I wasn't aware. I know I was familiar with sex trafficking, but I'm not that familiar with human trafficking. I remember when I was in grad school, we covered that in the detail, especially specific area of sex, and I was totally unaware of the statistics or the numbers of people who were caught up in sex trafficking. I think it's good to make the public aware of that because awareness is so important. A lot of people are not aware of what's going on. So I think it's very important that you share with us. So I'm going to let you go ahead and share what information you'd like to give us on the topic of human trafficking, which encompasses just more than just sex trafficking trade, but just altogether. So
Thank you, Dr. Walton. Again, good evening. Human trafficking, I know 5 parts to it thus far. There's the slave labor trade, there's the sex trade first, then the slave labor trade, and the harvesting of organs, the human organs. If you Google how much organs from the human body on the black market, and the last time I did it was in 23, but then a body was worth $535,000 on the black market.
wow.
And your organs are worth more because of the melanin that's in our bodies, and our organs will last longer, and so they are at a higher price. In America, 7.8% of the population is African American female. 40% of the people coming up missing is African American female. So you got the sex trade, you got the slave labor trade, you got the human organ trade, and along the East Coast and the West Coast, they kidnap young girls 10 to 27 years old, keep them in cages, breed them, and sell the babies.
Wow.
So it's a very vicious trade, and in my opinion, it's the worst crime that can be committed. It's a $275 billion a year industry for the beef.
What was that number?
275.
Repeat that number again.
It's a $275 billion a year industry. Now that's worldwide, but yes, that the United Nations in February 2024, that was the best number that they had, and I'm sure that's more than that. But with their gathering statistics, they came up with $275 billion a year industry. So, for a parent, if you have children, just for a moment, just go in your mind and think about, you wake up, your 10, 12, 14-year-old child is gone. You don't know if they're alive, they're being sexually abused, they're on some slave labor camp, have they been strapped to a gurney and cut open and their organs sold off like a car part? Or if it's a young lady, is she someplace getting bred like an animal and your grandbabies that you'll never see?
Wow.
And yes, it's my passion to do all I can to eradicate sex trafficking, human trafficking, slave labor trafficking. All of the human trafficking is whatever I can do to eradicate that, I will. Now, I'm fortunate enough this past session to get a bill passed, House Bill 1416. If you're being trafficked, the one time that you're generally by yourself is when you go to the restroom. So after July 1 this year, every service station in the great state of Indiana, when you travel up and down the highway, every rest area, or every welcoming center should have posted in their restroom what human trafficking is and the human trafficking hotline. It and local law enforcement. Also in that bill, hospitality workers, hotel motel workers, will have to take a 1 hour online course about what human trafficking is, and when you spot it, excuse me, when you spot it, what to do, who to call, how to react to it. It's it's very small, but into a major step in the state of Indiana because it's hard to get human trafficking language passed. When you look and see who human traffickers are, and when I do presentations on human trafficking, I have been asked, "What does a human trafficker look like?" And I
Mm-hmm.
say to the look to your left at your neighbor, and look to your neighbor to the right, and that's what a human trafficker looks like.
So I heard
They
you
had a
say
bus. Go
it's
ahead.
hard to get the language in there. Why is it hard to get the language in there?
In my opinion, it's hard to get human trafficking language passed because you have too many legislators who participate.
Mm, mm,
Uh,
mm.
and that's still a popular statement. But when you look at statistics across the United States, you will see that that's accurate.
Wow.
Uh, the Fortunately, uh, we have on both sides of the aisle folk who feel my passion, and
Mm-hmm.
they too have a passion and support it. So we have been successful here in Indiana to make some gains to help eradicate human trafficking.
Okay. In
But
relationship to other states, where does Indiana rank?
well, I think I don't want to. I read that statistic not too long ago. Um,
You can use general. You don't have to be specific.
Indiana is no saint by no means. As a matter of fact, the largest human trafficking event in the United States is the fire race
Mm-hmm.
right here in Indiana.
Wow. I didn't hear that.
So,
Would you repeat that again?
uh, the 500-mile race is one of the largest human trafficking events in the United States.
Wow.
Guys are away from home, wife is at home. Uh, Traffickers know that. They bring, uh, their handler will bring the folk who be trafficking. For those who are out to have a good time, they should have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many things that happen that we're not aware of. And when I first started working in human trafficking, a lot of folks thought that it did not happen in Indiana. But when you look at the folk who come up missing, like I said, 7.8% of the population in the United States is African American. 40% of the folk coming up missing are African American female. Go figure.
Right. Well, that's unbelievable. Sherry Walton says, "Praise the Lord, everyone." Barbara Bass said she's watching. Thanks for showing. Shirley Walton says she shared again. I'm encouraging if you're watching this, continue to share. Are there certain pockets within? Let's just start with where we at in Indianapolis. Are there certain pockets in Indianapolis where that is more prevalent?
I don't think so. I'm doing about race time is more prevalent speedway of the market is. But drivers move around. There are, and I learned this last session that there's a difference between a massage spa and a massage parlor. Uh,
Okay.
so, uh, massage parlors, not all of them, but some of them will have handlers to bring folks that are being trafficked in to work for them. And see, when you are being trafficked and you're they rent you out, the rule is you can't damage their face and you cannot kill them, but anything else you've paid, and you that person being trafficked is supposed to honor all your wishes, no matter what they are.
Wow.
And so you have no say so about your life, about your body. Period. It's all up to them. Handler makes the rules. And there's one young lady that I worked with who was trafficked. She uh, from the age of 2 to the age of 16, she was trafficked by her
Mm-mm.
biological mother, and
Wow.
mom was on drugs. And
Mm-mm.
and she, at the age of 10, had a box cutter taken to her genitals uh,
Mm-mm.
because she had to clean house nude. Uh, uh, and this person watched her, and if she left a speck of dust, she was beat. And this
Mm-mm.
is 6 years old. And then he enjoyed her sexually whenever he chose to, and however he
At
chose.
10 years old.
No, she was 10. He got out.
Mm-mm.
Family friend found out about it and got her out of it when she was 16. But from the time she was 2 to the time she was 16, she was trafficked by her biological mother.
From the time she was 2.
So from the time she was 2, yes.
Mm-mm. That's that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Uh, I think this is something that people aren't aware of. Are there any signs, like you said, are there any signs, like you were saying in the seminar, you would tell look to the right to the left, or are there any telltale signs to let a person know is this happening?
They, uh, if you watch and pay attention, you can almost tell, and sometimes they'll give a little hand sign, like to let you know that there's a problem.
Right,
And but most folk don't know that,
right,
and it's they had not a drug bus. They had a human trafficking bus in Houston, Texas, in 2022, I believe. They arrested 250 people in the human trafficking ring and recovered 125 women and children.
Mm-mm-mm.
In that bus, I think it was like 9 state troopers. It was like 11 pastors. I think like 5 doctors, 15 nurses, uh, like 11 college professors.
Now, and these are people that helped them with the bus. These are not people that were participating, are they?
These are people who had the human trafficking ring going.
My lord,
Yeah,
doctors, lawyers, preachers. You said preachers.
pastors. There was pastors in there. There was pastors in there. It was
Mm-mm.
state police, uh,
Wow.
nurses, college professors. Uh, it was from people from all walks of life.
And people with perversion. Sister Shirley says, so sad. Sister Deborah Menora says, what should one do if you suspect something? Good question.
I need to learn the human trafficking hotline, but you can Google the human trafficking hotline and call that number if you
Hmm.
suspect it. And it's better to err on the side of caution.
Right.
Uh, we're losing too many young folk, too many babies. Uh, that we African American women make up 7.8% of the population in the United States, but 40% of the people that come up missing. And see, a lot of those folk are not dead. Uh, there was a documentary not long ago where this
Right.
this woman was just held captive and used, and then somehow or another, the husband had convinced the wife that it was okay, and so she was a slave to the both of them, sex slave to the both of them.
Mm-mm-mm.
It when you start reading and studying human trafficking, uh, and there's one thing I will not talk about on this show, but when I see you, Bishop, I would share with you. But
Okay.
and I'm not a dryer. I'm just not. I think the best friend I ever had in my life was my dad, And when he passed away, I didn't shed a tear till they closed the casket, and I knew I wouldn't see him again. And
Right.
so I'm crying, but when I read this, tears just came, and I called my sister, and I said, "Darling, just pray." And she said, "What's going on?" Because I didn't know I don't cry. And but I could not stop crying. I said, "Just pray."
Right.
And that's how I got through that. But some things make you sick of the
Okay. Now, Sherry, she's praying. She's also Sherry Broomfield said, "Never thought people could be that evil." I know people could be that evil, but the people, nurses and doctors and lawyers and politicians, you would not think that they would encompass that. It's sad. I did put that's the human trafficking hotline 1-888-373-7888. That's the
right.
number. That's the number. So if you suspect that, call that number. As a state representative said, if you suspect, it's better to err. And I'd rather someone err and be wrong than wish they had erred. Wish they had
Yeah.
contacted, and it's too late. Frank Coleman says, "Thank you for exposing this horrible situation to us. We had no idea it was this prevalent in our area. Blessing to you all for the work you do." I mean, this
Thank
this is an eye-opening experience, state representative. And I think we don't think about, but this is one thing I will say. Do you? And you can answer the question. I think it's probably exacerbated because of what we're going through now with the ICE taking people off the streets and not contacting family. You don't know if they're coming up through sex trafficking or if they've been taken off, deported. We really don't know, and so someone comes up missing. We don't know.
We don't know, but uh, this has been going on for quite some time.
Right.
Uh, uh, it's it's just horrible. I mean, you cannot make anything good out of this when you can destroy a human life. Uh, as a matter of fact, when I go back this next session, we go back in January. I'm going to start looking at domestic violence as well.
Right.
So many people, again, from all walks of life, are abused in their relationships, in their marriages, and no one should have to live and or tolerate something like that. Uh,
Right.
it, and it's about control, but you don't own another human being, and we all have a right to make choices. And so I do want to look at domestic violence as well because I think it's a part of little little out, but part of being trafficked as well. You can't go unless your mate says it's okay. You can't do this. If you do, then you are beaten. So it's a form of slavery. And
Right.
so uh, it's just I've kind of stayed away from that, but I think it's something I really need to look into domestic violence as well. But
Also represents there's a lot of teenage were controlling young boys. They control these young girls. They're in fear. A lot of the gang members, I've done a study where they put tattoos on them, force them as like that their property. So it's a serious problem, even with the young people, even with teenagers.
yeah,
These young boys are just they feel like they can control the young ladies.
and I'm gonna share this uh, for our men. We need to be in our children's lives
So true.
until they're at least until they're 18 years old. I don't think in the young boy situation is as prevalent with a young lady if the father is in her life,
You're right.
uh, because I'm 16, 17 years old and I'm controlling my girlfriend. But then I know if I hit her, her daddy coming.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I think I'm gonna find something else to do. You know what I'm saying? And I
True.
think it's we have some work to do, especially in the black community as black men, is to get our black people to understand what the relationship is with the mama. You need to be in your child's life. You
That's
have
so
to be.
true. So true. So
And a
so
lot of
true.
the things, you can't wait till you go to the funeral. And I shoulda, woulda, coulda. You have to be
Right.
in a child, male and female. You need to be in their life. And you need to teach your son, you don't put your hands on nobody's daughter. Okay.
Right.
And I got four sons and they all know that. You don't put your hands on nobody's daughter. Because if I had a daughter, you put your hands on my daughter, I'm coming to see you. And so
For
like
sure. For sure. For
that's
sure.
that's something,
I
yeah,
think
we
you
got
know.
to get we
I
got to get
agree.
that back in men. We got to get that back in our young men.
Deborah Menora says, Representative Bartlett, what can we lay as lay people or individuals do to help combat this issue? Good question.
Well, we'll be doing human trafficking language when I go back and pay attention to what's going on at the state house. Please do, and watch and even come down and testify in committee and tell why it's important we get this language passed. It once it's overheard at the state house, and it's important you make sure that your voice is heard at the state house because it's like me. I am your employee. I work for you. Your vote put me in office. Your vote can take me out of office.
Right.
So understand what a state representative or a mayor or a state is what makes the difference. So
Right.
you pay attention and you don't ever put an elected official up else. Always know that your tax dollar pays for everything that goes on in government. And there's some issue that you don't understand why, boy, you need to question me on that. If there's an issue going on, you wish that I would address. You need to say that. It afraid to talk to the official. Don't be afraid to voice your opinion. Afraid
And
to
we're
ask
having a
for your
little
vote.
trouble, hearing you. So I think I don't know if there's a little distortion. So okay, we lost him, but he was basically saying that hold your state representative accountable. If there's something that reach out to your state representative, get involved. I'm sure we'll get him back online. But before he gets in, Sherry said, I read there's fake ICE agents that's kidnapping people and people are thinking they're real agents. That's so true. So sure, I read the exact same thing. Matter of fact, I saw an article where there were a number of there's an article where there were a number of individuals who were posing as ICE agent, attacking folks, raping women, things like that. So I think there, and we can pose that to you, state representative. There are ICE agents that are posing as, there's individuals that are posing as ICE agents, and they're raping people, they're forcing them to do all kind of things. Or what are you guys doing on the state level regarding that?
That we've not addressed it. I've begun to hear about that. Don't know that it's real. But then they just need to be prosecuted.
Mm-hmm. I think are they doing more to distinguish so people can actually know, because the ICE agents, a lot of them, all they have is a jackets and ice, which you can probably buy that at local dime store almost. Buy it. And it should be some more clarification.
Well, the ICE agents were wearing masks.
Yeah,
Excuse me. So, like, it's confusing.
yeah, very
Like they're hiding because they don't want people to know who they are.
right, right.
So it's really a very difficult situation.
Yeah,
We're in a difficult time in history, in my opinion. It
right.
I was listening to D.L. Hughley, uh, and he was saying that there was an African American female paid $1,200 to purchase her freedom
Right.
uh, early in history, and now they're building this alligator Alcatraz,
Right.
and I think it's like $1,200 a stimulus that they're sending out to get you to be quiet, and while they're doing this,
Mhm.
and it's going to be another slave camp.
It sounds well, and the people are actually getting paid. We do the research that people getting paid to maintain. It's just like uh, prison is big dollar business. People are making money. The rich folks, and like I said, it goes up to the top. People are making money off the backs of people who are less fortunate. Again, Sister Sherry says, "I was in an abusive marriage, and domestic violence isn't taken that serious." And unfortunately, that's true. A lot of times, and I guess it's back to what you're saying. I guess our eyes have to be open because we're relying on everyone to have a certain degree of credibility, integrity, and we see it does make at various levels. Everyone doesn't have that level of credibility, and it's mind blowing when you tell politicians, nurses, doctors, people who have sworn an oath to look out for people, and they're taking advantage of the very people they've sworn an oath to protect.
Yeah, but it gives them cover as well. See,
Right.
like you look to the policeman, you thinking, see, they arrested, I think it was 7 or 9 state troopers in Texas when they had that bust. And so, like, when you see the red lights coming, I see help coming.
Yeah.
But in fact, this was one that's going to indulge in the crime itself. And so, and nobody would suspect,
Right. Right.
and so it kind of gives them cover.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, and I often tell people, if you want to know who you can trust, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it, it's uh, the we living at a time that we really, honestly, truly need prayer.
True. True. You can say that
It,
again.
it, uh, Excuse me.
I said you can say that
I'm
again.
sorry.
We really do. We really do.
Yes, yes. And that's the only thing, in my opinion, that's going to make things right.
Right. That's it.
Uh, to to put your trust in man, it- you're gonna lose.
Right. Right. You
So
know.
we have an obligation as men to get to our young folk and get them on the right track. Our young black men. There's, in my opinion, our legislature is dumbing down education.
They are. They are.
Our legislature is dumbing down education. They are pushing the AI, artificial intelligence.
Right.
Listen to that, artificial
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. And so we no longer have to think. If we let our brains lay dormant, they will become dormant. Cursive writing is no longer mandatory curriculum in our schools. As a matter of fact, most schools don't teach cursive writing anymore. What's the
Mm-hmm.
danger of that? In 2023, there was a family in, I'm wanting to say Santa Barbara, California,
Mm-hmm.
who their land had been taken from them.
Wow.
And they went back, did the research, and filed a lawsuit and
Mm-hmm.
recovered that land. And that land was worth $74 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now, black folk in the South, often their land was taken.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back and do the research and they cannot produce a bill of sale, you can file a lawsuit and recover that land. But
Right.
all of that documentation is written in cursive because back in the 1900s, they didn't have typewriters.
Right.
But if you can't read and write cursive, you can't do the research and file the lawsuit and recoup that land that was taken from your family years ago.
Yeah.
Also, the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of the United States is written in cursive.
Right.
So
So
we need to stop thinking that someone else is going to teach our children. We need to teach our children and make sure they know how to read, write, cursive, make sure
right.
they can read and write, period. And understand this. It's not only mine, but it's our turn now. It's our turn to step up to the plate, to get it
Mhm.
done, to make sure that our children know what the laws are, that
Mhm.
our young ladies or our young girls become young ladies, not just women, but ladies,
Right.
that
Right.
our young guys don't just become guys, but become men, and understand their obligation to our young ladies. And so,
Right.
like, until we are able to make that difference and make that happen, I say that the black men are failing their generation.
Hmm.
They are failing the young men that's coming behind them. And if we can't stand up for our women, what good are we?
Right. Right. You know, I think education, we have to pray and we have to educate our people. Shows like this, right? Kay says, praise the Lord. Sister Sherry said, that's right. I think education is so important. I was somewhere, I was purchasing something, and the computer went out, and the person who was ringing me up could not figure out how to count the change. Did not know how to count. It's a good thing I was an honest person. They did not have a clue how to count the change. Education. We have to educate our people. Do
Bishop,
our Yes.
I gave a young lady $100 bill,
Hmm.
and I think I owed her $19 and like 28 cents.
Hmm.
But what she did is took the 100 and gave me 5 20s back, and then let me
Hmm.
pay her with $20. Okay.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah.
but you said something a while ago too about education. Education, the medical field, and the prison systems are the three pillars in America. That's where the money is made.
Right.
That's where the money is made.
Right.
They're building. Now we don't have money for Medicare, but we're building a $5 billion prison system
Hmm.
or a new prison in Michigan City, Indiana.
Right.
We don't have money for your Medicare. We've got $5 billion for a new prison.
Hmm.
And if we were to educate our young folk, most of them will not end up in prison anyway.
So true.
But
So
we had a bill this last session, and I fought it and fought it and fought it, and we were able to kill that bill. We wanted to criminalize homelessness.
criminalize
So,
home. Wow.
yeah, if you were homeless, the police catch you homeless, they give you a warning.
Hmm.
And once they gave you that warning, according to their computer, when they catch you homeless again, they take you to jail.
Mm-mm.
And we had a lot of discussion about that bill. And I had some folk to come to me and said, Rep. Bartlett, you're really against this bill, but as a Christian, I would rather see someone in jail than to lay on the streets in the wintertime and freeze to death or lay on the streets in the summertime and have heat inhalation.
Hmm.
Uh, so when I talked about the bill, and I thought it might pass out of the House, but when I talked about it on the floor, I said these things. I said, first off, everybody in prison is not guilty. Most of
True.
them are, but everybody's not. I've never been to jail in my life.
Hmm.
I said, but let's say I'm at the wrong place at the wrong time and I go to court, I get convicted, I do 5 years for a crime I did not commit. Well, jail is not me, so I'm in prison and for the parole board, after 2 years, I get released. Well, I come home, my money's gone, my wife's gone, my home's gone, the car's gone.
Right.
I've always been a good worker, so I
Hmm.
can get another job, but I got to make contacts. And then even if I start, I got 2 weeks to 30 days before I get a paycheck.
Hmm.
So during this time, I got the warning, and before I get paid, I get locked up. Now I violated my probation. I got to go back and do those 3 years.
Wow, unbelievable. So
Then, but
you
the
ask a
second
question.
piece of that is, I know I'm getting windy, but the second piece of that is most of the folk who are homeless are veterans.
True, true.
So you are taught from the time you're born to 18 years old, thou shalt not kill. But I don't care what your MOS happens to be. When you go into the military, you are a trained killer.
True.
And if you have to pull the trigger and take someone's life, and or if you are deployed and see what is seen in war, how it affects everybody on this call. And some folk, when they come home, because we don't do our due diligence and give psychological help that they need. And
Right.
mental illness is very, very, very real.
Yes, sir.
We don't give them the psychological help that they need, so they just want to be left alone. So they prefer to be home.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, those of you who say that you would rather, as their Christian beliefs, I said, you can read from Genesis to Revelations, and I don't believe you'll find one place in there where Jesus had an address. I
Right.
said, and as I understand the story, Mary and Joseph were homeless because there was no room at the inn, and he was born in a barn.
Right.
So would you have locked them up?
That's
And
so
we were
true.
able to kill that bill.
Very
But
good.
you wanted to ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just wondering, to pass a bill, to block it, was it overwhelming? I know it had more that were against it, but how many people were actually for it? Was there a large number of people that was actually for it?
There were a large number for it, but you had to get 51
Hmm.
yes votes, the constitutional majority.
Right.
And I think they got up to 48, but they didn't want to call it down because they couldn't get that 51 they needed.
Right. Well, good. 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 It's really sad when I'm hearing you say it, and it becomes a rippling effect. Um, I think I agree with you on that because a lot of people don't realize even during the July 4th holiday, it triggers a lot of veterans. And I'm not, getting off subject. A lot of veterans are triggered when they hear those fireworks go off. I used to, counsel with clients, vets who had PSD, um, from just hearing the firecrackers. I've seen them crawl up in the fetal position because they hear a firecracker, think they're back in war again.
Yes, war. Even if you don't have to take someone else's life, what you see
Hmm.
in a war zone is horrific.
Right.
And I'm not a veteran, but I've talked to veterans. I've
Right.
done
So,
some legislation for veterans, but uh, and a lot of veterans will not even discuss what they've seen. I wrote the language to create the Indiana Military Veterans Hall of Fame.
right.
And if anybody on this call is a veteran and knows someone that's got some medals, please look at Indiana Military Veterans Hall of Fame.com to see if you qualify to get the into the Hall of Fame. But
Right.
uh, there's a general Marine Corps,
Hmm.
and I really wanted her into the Hall of Fame, but she won't give the information. She's not interested. But
Well,
for a female to be a general in the Marine Corps, she had to know her stuff.
hmm I met someone like that. I'm not sure if that's the same person, but actually, I wanted her to come on the program, and she didn't feel comfortable coming on the program. So,
Okay.
Sister Sarah Cobb is watching. Thanks for watching, Sarah. Deborah Menora says also represented you will be limited as to what type of job we'll be able to get because of your prison record. So,
Say
so
what now?
she was saying when you were talking about the homeless people
Uh-huh.
and putting them in prison, said when they come out, they'll be limited to the type of jobs they'll get.
Absolutely. And let me say this too to all your viewers that if your crime is over 8 years old, you can get your record expunged as well, which will
That's,
clean that up.
that's important to know. Okay, let me ask you a question, Representative Bartlett. If a person, because it's such a traumatic experience, uh, it affects your mind, your mental state, it affects your self esteem. A person who comes out of that, what is out there to help them to transition back into, because if a person who suffers a horrendous experience like that, uh, they're gonna have all type of attachment issues, anxiety, emotional depression, low self-esteem. What is out there to help those people to come back into society?
Not very much.
Mm-mm-mm.
We we do so much. Uh, our legislature, in my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion, but our legislature, a lot of them are millionaires.
Yeah.
They've never experienced having your lights cut off or having your water cut off. Uh, Trying to borrow $2 so you can get enough money to get gasoline to get to work.
Right.
Those are things that they just don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you have a family member that made a mistake and uh, got locked up and went to prison, paid their debt to society, but when they come home, they continue to pay
Right.
because if I borrow $20 from you and I pay you back, we should be even.
Right. Right.
If I steal your $20 and we go to court
Mm-hmm.
and they say, well, you stole his $20.
Mm-hmm.
He could have made X amount of interest off that $20.
Mm-hmm.
You inconvenienced him. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to give you $100 fine and 6 months in jail.
Wow.
So once I do that, my debt should be paid,
Right.
but not under our laws today.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you come home, if you've been convicted of crime X, Y, and Z, you can't get a job.
Right. Right.
So if you can't eat, you're gonna commit another crime because you're gonna eat one way or another.
Okay, that's
And
true.
so then you go right back to the prison system and you get that revolving door, which understand something. If you go to prison tonight, they will lock you up, but the taxpayers is paying that bill.
Right.
When the Sheriff Forstall watched the live stream of the me on the floor at the house, and he
Mm-hmm.
came to me and he took out his phone and he showed me. He said, if I lock you up in my jail today, it costs me $75 a day to keep you there.
Mm-hmm.
He said, that's $2,250 a month. I can rent you an efficiency apartment for $1,100 a month.
So true.
But we were willing to lock up someone that's homeless rather than putting them into someplace where they'd be comfortable. Because I begged the city before they tore down the women's prison on Michigan Street to make that a homeless shelter.
Right. Right.
It was already set up.
Yeah.
The kitchen was there, the barracks were there, um, and it was already set up.
You know. You know what I found out, Representative? I found there are those who prey on the poor, those who prey on those, like I said, disadvantaged, those who are caught up in human trafficking. They prey on the most vulnerable people. I remember when they had the COVID, there were people who were upset when they were giving out the stimulus checks because the people who had money couldn't get people to work for them because people say, "Hey, I don't have to work this job when I'm not making anything. When I can get this stimulus check." So I think there is a certain amount within people's heart that people are greedy, they're selfish, they have no compassion, and so they are rooting against people's success. They want to see them down. They want to see them downtrodden because they want to have a dependency. And I think we just have to be very careful when we talk about human trafficking. There are those who just have no moral compass and they prey. They have no sensitivity to um, people who are less fortunate than them. And it's really sad. I can go on, but it's really sad. And I'm still scratching my head that the people who you are saying the degree, the levels, and like I said, we are just in a very, very corrupt society right now that we have to have our guards up. Like I said, there's some, I know what I was going to say earlier. when you were talking about the restrooms putting signs, is there some way that they can put in the restroom a button, a safety button, or something where a emergency call where they can press that button and alert the sign? That was something they can invest in that.
You know, trying to get the language to get the signs in there is was rough, and to have an alert button, that's something that we can work on. But actually, after that language we got it passed, a young lady came to me and said that we need that same signature signage, or that same signage on the public transportation, on the buses and whatever. And I
That's
hadn't
true.
even thought about that.
That's
But
true.
that's why it's so important for the public to interact with their legislators,
Hmm. Yeah.
because it's and I jokingly say, as smart as we are, we can't think of everything, but we
Yeah.
really need that input from the public,
Hmm.
because not one of us is nearly as smart as all of us together. So,
Right.
and I welcome that. As a matter of fact, in House District 95, I do something called kitchen table conversation.
Okay.
And if you contact my office, my legislative assistant, and I do it on the weekends and some evenings, I like about 8 people, like you and 7 of your neighbors, and I'll come to your house and I'll bring our publications and I'll take 5 or 10 minutes and tell you what I do, but I want to hear what's on your mind. Uh, and that, to me, and I'm the only legislator that I know of to do that, and I'm almost certain I'm the only one. But I will come because I want to hear what uh, what policy you want to be made or changed in the great state of Indiana. And it's my responsibility as a state representative. My job is to represent your ideology, to
Right.
represent your ideology. So, like, if I don't hear from you, I don't know what your ideas are. And so, like, I do the kitchen table conversation because I am your employee. I work for you, and I need to hear from you.
All right, very well stated. I think this is a good place to, if someone wants to contact you, you gave your cell phone number. If someone just wants to, hey, I got an idea, how could they present that idea to you?
Contact my legislative assistant at 317 232
317 what?
232 9710.
Okay. I just sent that number again. That's another way. 317
Now, you want an
232.
email address?
Okay. Email address.
Okay. Uh, that is H95
Hmm.
at iga.in.gov.
Okay. I hope I got that right now. I put that lowercase h95 at iga.in.gov.
That's correct.
All right, there you got 3 ways to reach him. He gave a cell phone. He gave us a legislative assistant. But I think it's important that we are made aware of that. If someone wants some more information around that time, some more information on human trafficking. Now, the human trafficking again, I didn't think of the other areas. When I think of human trafficking, I'm familiar with the sex trafficking, which I think I was when they had the PD trials. They talked about that to a certain extent. The slave labor, didn't think about that. These are things that are actually going on. I'm sure there's individual victims here in Indianapolis, in Indiana, in the USA, uh, organ harvesting. That I mean, that's unbelievable. Um, Baby trade. Those are all part of human trafficking. We need to wake up. The church needs to be wake up. Maybe the churches. Now, let me ask you this question: are you willing to come out to churches and talk to them?
I do it all the time.
All right. So churches, pastors, if you don't hear, contact your pastor. Tell your pastor, hey, we like to hear this discussion. Come out to our church because, again, we don't. often get involved until it touches our home, and that may be too late. So if you can get involved now, you may prevent it from affecting your home. So I would encourage you, get in touch with state legislature, tell them what you want, give them your ideals. I like what you're saying. You're open to the ideal. He's open. Don't just feel like that your voice is not heard. If you don't get involved, no one will never know what your opinions are. And there are a number of people out here, I'm sure, that you have good ideas, good opinions. There were some good comments on tonight. Please reach out to your state legislature. If he's not your state representative, find out who your state representative is. How can they find out who their state representative is if they're not sure?
Go on to in.gov and put in your address and ask who is my or ask who's my state legislator, and put your address in. It'll tell you
You mean on the website, just
on the
dial IN?
website in.gov. It who is my representative and representatives, and it should tell you who your city county councilor is, your state rep, your state senator, and all. But and always remember, we work for you.
Right, and people don't realize the importance of one voice. I can't remember statistics, but one person who reaches out to their state representative is representative of a number, so many hundreds or so many thousands of people. So your one voice makes a big difference. God bless Apostle Davis. So bless Bishop. So glad that you're on here. And so we as pastors, preachers, we have to take a stand. We have to find out we just have to get involved. There's so many things going on, and sometimes we first of all, we have to pray, but secondly, just find ways of getting involved, be educated, know what's going on. And so I certainly appreciate you being on here. I appreciate your wise words. It's not falling on deaf ear. Again, if you're on here, please share it. You don't know whose life you're going to be affected. Some good information here. Is there literature out there? Where can they find literature about this human trafficking?
Whoa, that I don't know. I get literature from the National Caucus of State Legislators because they move around the whole state or maybe the whole country and get information from other legislators across the country. What I really had set up to do was to go to different colleges and whatever to advocate or to eradicate human trafficking. But COVID hit and knocked all that out of the box. But let me say this, Bishop, if you will. When you come out of the grocery store, come out of the supermarkets, a lot of times your mind is someplace else. But pay attention to your surroundings, please. If there's a van parked next to you, don't put your groceries or your merchandise in the vehicle on that side with the van, because they can hit a button. You come out and the guy driving the van smile and speak and you relax. But when you go to put stuff in your vehicle, they hit a button. Somebody snatch you in that van, hit you with that needle. And when you wake up, you someplace naked, don't know where you are.
Right.
So just pay attention to your surroundings. Just walk. Don't just jump in your car, come out and jump in your car. Pay attention to what's going on. And if you see some strange folks standing out there, don't come out by yourself.
Right. And then they say there's things that they can put on your car, or you can touch it and instantly you get paralyzed. Or these are things, if you see something sticking your doorknob on your door, try not to touch it.
That and they make a license plate too, because if you go to the same grocery all the time and they watching you, license plate, know that you're generally by yourself and traffic come through and watch you come out, and they watch you and swoop you up and you go.
Yeah.
And see your family, know where to look.
Also, I tell people when you leave the garage door, especially ladies, I always make sure the garage door is closed before you leave, because some people have these sensors. You can have this much space open, and you think the garage door is closed. Someone can throw something there, and calls go back up and to come. So these are little small little things that they can do to make aware. But again, if anyone's on here, you want to get involved, I'm sure a state representative is saying that you can get involved. If you got some ideas, you got some suggestions, I'm sure there's a need. Whatever your passion is, what your burden is, wherever you see this wrong, don't just complain about it. get involved, do something about it. And I think that's so important. It's time to get involved. We got to pray, watch and pray, but we have to get involved with so many, and we have to ask God to uncover, because as you're saying, there's so many people that are ungodly, and we need to ask God to expose them, expose those individuals that are ungodly. I think God is doing that. He's exposing people who hearts are not right, whether it be preachers, pastors, judges, lawyers, and teachers, educators. We're seeing it more and more. And so, but we just have to keep on praying. Sister Shirley said, thank you both. You're welcome. Again, please share this right here. This is important information. If you have any comments after the program is off, please put your comments and we'll address it. I'll be talking with the state representative. We'll address those. If you got any suggestions, please type in, because we would certainly like to hear from you. Again, I'm going to encourage you to reach out to your state representative. Reach out to them, let them know, get involved. As he's saying, he's waiting for you. If you don't get involved, if you don't contact him, he doesn't know what needs are your desires, your heart. So please get involved. Well, Representative Bartlett, certainly appreciate you. And this won't be our last time having you on. We got to have you on again. Some tremendous information. Sister Norris, great information. Thank you. Tremendous information. Eye-opening experience. I've learned a lot from you, and I hope that, again, please share. All you have to do is hit that share button on your Facebook page. Hit share and share with your friends. Share it to group. Please share it because someone else may not. I have a lot of people who come on after the program is off and look at the program, share it to others so they'll know what's going on. At the least, say Representative Bartlett, we need to be made aware of what's going on. We do. You have any final comments before? Well, I guess that's it. It's like we lost him, but certainly we were glad and honored to have him on tonight. We thank God for him. He has a very busy schedule for taking the time to be on. It's my turn now. Again, I share with you if there's any ideas or something that you want to discuss. If you have a passion, we talked about human trafficking, but we hit on a number of subjects tonight. We hit on domestic violence, child abuse. We talked about a number of different situations. If there's something that you want to talk about more in depth, if you like to come on the program, or you know someone else that you'd like to hear from, please let us know. God bless you. And thank you once again for joining us on this week's episode of It's My Turn.